Hello and welcome. There exists a being so ancient, so utterly terrifying, that even the gods themselves speak its name with caution. A creature that embodies the very essence of chaos and madness, whose mere presence can shatter minds and corrupt souls. You might think you know what true horror looks like. But until you have gazed into the twin visages of the Prince of Demons himself, you have only glimpsed the surface of what true terror means. This is Demogorgon, and his story reaches back to the very foundations of evil itself. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the abyss in its earliest days, when the multiverse was still young and the planes of existence had barely formed their boundaries. In those primordial times, before mortal races walked the material plane, before even the gods had fully established their dominions, something stirred in the infinite layers of chaos. The abyss, that endless wound in reality itself, gave birth to its first and most terrible children. Among them, rising from the depths of pure, undiluted evil, came Demogorgon. You need to understand that Demogorgon is not simply a powerful demon or a particularly dangerous fiend. He is something far more fundamental than that. When scholars and sages speak of demon princes, they speak of beings who have transcended the normal hierarchy of fiendish power. These are not mere generals or warlords of the abyss. They are living embodiments of corruption, entities so powerful that they command entire layers of that infinite nightmare realm. And among all these terrible princes, Demogorgon holds a title that none can truly dispute: Prince of Demons. This title is not merely ceremonial, nor is it some empty boast. Throughout the countless eons of the abyss's existence, Demogorgon has proven time and again why he deserves this recognition. His power eclipses that of most other demon lords. His influence spreads across multiple layers of the abyss. His name is whispered in fear by cultists and demon worshippers throughout the material plane. Even other demon princes, beings of immense power themselves, regard him with a mixture of hatred, respect, and fear. But what makes Demogorgon truly unique? What sets him apart from every other creature in existence is his form. Picture this: a massive reptilian body, towering 18 feet tall, covered in scales that seem to absorb light itself. His legs are like those of a massive lizard, ending in clawed feet that can crush stone. His torso is thick with corded muscle, speaking to a physical strength that can tear through adamantine as easily as you might tear paper. Two massive tentacles extend where his arms should be, each one capable of independent movement, each one deadly beyond measure. And then, rising from those powerful shoulders, are not one but two heads, two distinct serpentine heads, each one topped with a crown of writhing, snake-like tendrils. These are not simple decorations or mere appendages. Each head possesses its own consciousness, its own personality, its own desires and hatreds. The left head, known as Aameul, represents contemplation and cunning. The right head, called Hethradiah, embodies action and savage rage. Together, they form something greater and more terrible than either could be alone. Yet they are also in constant conflict, each vying for dominance over their shared body. Your mortal mind might struggle to comprehend what it means to exist in such a state. Imagine having another consciousness sharing your body, another will that might oppose your every decision, another intelligence that schemes and plots even as you scheme and plot. Now imagine that this other consciousness is not some lesser being, but an intelligence equal to your own, with power equal to your own. This is the reality of Demogorgon's existence, and it is this internal conflict that makes him so unpredictable, so dangerous, and so utterly fascinating. The origins of how Demogorgon came to possess this dual nature are lost even to the oldest records. Some scholars believe he was created this way from the very moment of his emergence from the primordial chaos. Others suggest that he was once a single being who somehow merged with another entity of equal power, creating this terrifying hybrid. Still, others whisper that this duality is a curse, punishment for some ancient transgression so terrible that even the abyss itself could not simply destroy him. The truth, like so many truths about the abyss, remains shrouded in mystery and madness. What you can be certain of, however, is that Demogorgon's power is real and measurable. When he walks, the very ground trembles beneath his feet. When he speaks, reality itself seems to warp and twist around his words. His tentacles can strike with such force that they can shatter castle walls. His gaze can drive even the strongest-willed individuals into permanent madness. He commands magic of such devastating power that he can reshape entire sections of the abyss to his whim. He can summon hordes of lesser demons with a single thought. He is, in every measurable way, one of the most dangerous beings in all of existence. But physical power and magical might are not the only things that make Demogorgon so feared. His intelligence, or rather his intelligences, make him a schemer and plotter of the highest order. While his two heads may constantly fight for dominance, this conflict does not make him less dangerous. Instead, it means that every plan he devises is tested by an opposing viewpoint of equal cunning. Every strategy is challenged, refined, and strengthened by this internal debate. What emerges from this process are plans of such complexity and malevolence that they can span centuries and affect entire planes of existence. Consider for a moment the implications of such a being existing in your world. Demogorgon does not merely destroy for the sake of destruction, though he is certainly capable of tremendous violence. No, his goals are far more insidious. He seeks to spread chaos and madness throughout all of existence. He desires to see order collapse into entropy, to watch civilizations crumble into savagery, to corrupt the very foundations upon which reality rests. Every cult that worships him, every ritual performed in his name, every sacrifice offered to his glory, brings him one step closer to these goals. Throughout the long history of the multiverse, Demogorgon has proven himself again and again. He has waged wars against other demon princes that lasted for millennia. He has corrupted entire civilizations, turning them from enlightenment to barbarism. He has shattered the minds of countless mortal and immortal beings alike. He has stood against gods and survived. He has reached into the material plane from his abyssal realm and left scars that persist for generations. He is ancient beyond mortal reckoning, powerful beyond mortal comprehension, and evil beyond mortal imagination. Yet for all his power, Demogorgon is not invincible. His dual nature, while granting him unique perspectives and abilities, also creates vulnerability. The conflict between his two heads can be exploited by clever enemies. His arrogance, earned through countless eons of dominance, can lead him to underestimate threats. His obsession with spreading madness can sometimes cloud his judgment. These weaknesses are subtle, difficult to exploit, and any attempt to do so is fraught with terrible danger. But they exist, and throughout history, there have been those brave or foolish enough to try to use them against him. The name Demogorgon itself carries weight in the multiverse. When spoken aloud, it draws his attention, though mercifully not always his direct presence. Cultists and scholars who study the abyss often use euphemisms and titles rather than speaking his true name. For to do so repeatedly is to invite his gaze upon you, and to have Demogorgon's attention, even for a moment, is to risk madness, corruption, or worse. His very essence seems to leak through the mere utterance of his name, carrying with it a tiny fraction of his chaotic, maddening power. You might wonder how such a being came to rule an entire layer of the abyss. The answer lies in the fundamental nature of that terrible realm. The abyss is not like the orderly planes of law, or even the predictable chaos of limbo. It is infinite in its layers, each one a unique manifestation of evil and corruption. To claim and hold a layer of the abyss requires more than just power. It requires the ability to impose your will upon the very fabric of that layer, to reshape it according to your desires, to defend it against countless other demons who would seize it for themselves. Demogorgon has done this, and more. His realm, the Gaping Maw, stands as a testament to his power and his madness. As you contemplate the existence of such a being, remember that Demogorgon is not some distant threat that exists only in ancient legends or forgotten texts. He is active, plotting, scheming, and expanding his influence even now. His cults grow in secret places throughout the material plane. His servants move through the shadows, corrupting and destroying. His madness spreads like a plague, infecting the minds of those who are weak or foolish enough to seek forbidden knowledge. He is patient, for he has existed since the dawn of time and will likely exist until its ending. He can afford to wait centuries for a plan to come to fruition. And many of his schemes are only now bearing their terrible fruit after being set in motion ages ago. This, then, is the foundation upon which you must build your understanding of Demogorgon. He is ancient beyond measure. He is powerful beyond comprehension. He is evil in its purest form. He is chaos incarnate. He is madness made manifest. He is the prince of demons, and his story is one of terror, power, and the eternal struggle between his two warring selves. But this is only the beginning. To truly understand Demogorgon, you must delve deeper, exploring his realm, his servants, his cults, and his place in the grand tapestry of the multiverse. ECTION 2, the Gaping Maw realm of madness. To understand Demogorgon fully, you must journey with me now to his domain, to the layer of the abyss that he has claimed and shaped into a reflection of his own twisted nature. This is layer 88 of the abyss, known throughout the planes as the Gaping Maw, and it is a realm that defies mortal comprehension in ways that go beyond simple description. This is not merely a place of evil. It is a place where reality itself has been corrupted, where the very laws of nature bend and break under the weight of Demogorgon's madness. Picture yourself standing at the threshold of this layer. If you dare, the first thing that strikes you is not what you see, but what you feel. The air itself seems wrong, thick, and humid, pressing against your skin like something alive. It carries with it a stench of rot and brine, of things that have died in deep water and been left to decay. Your lungs struggle to draw breath, not because the air is thin, but because some instinctive part of your mind rebels against taking this corrupted atmosphere into your body. Yet you have no choice. Breathe or die. And so you breathe, and with each breath, you feel something changing inside you, something subtle and terrible. The landscape of the Gaping Maw is dominated by water, but not the clean, life-giving water of the material plane. This is water that has been twisted by eons of exposure to pure chaos and evil. Vast oceans stretch in every direction, their surfaces churning with unnatural currents. The water itself shifts between states, sometimes liquid, sometimes something closer to thick sludge, sometimes taking on properties that water should never possess. In some places, it burns like acid. In others, it freezes and thaws in rapid cycles, creating jagged formations of ice that melt and reform constantly. These seas are not empty. Far from it. They teem with life, if you can call it that. Creatures swim through these waters that bear only passing resemblance to anything you might find in natural oceans. Demonic fish with too many eyes and mouths, filled with crystalline teeth, hunt in packs. Massive serpents, some larger than the greatest whales of the material plane, coil through the depths. Things that are part octopus, part humanoid, part nightmare patrol the waters, serving as Demogorgon's guardians and servants. Each of these creatures has been twisted by the nature of this realm, mutated and changed until they are perfect reflections of their master's chaos. Rising from these poisoned seas are islands, if such a term can be applied to the land masses of the Gaping Maw. These are not the pleasant, sandy islands you might imagine when you think of tropical paradises. They are jagged, hostile places formed from black volcanic rock and twisted coral that seems to grow with malevolent purpose. The vegetation that covers these islands defies any attempt at classification. Some of it appears plant-like, with leaves and stems, but it moves with disturbing intelligence, reaching out to grasp at anything that comes near. Other growths seem more animal than plant, with surfaces that pulse like skin and appendages that writhe like tentacles. The geography of the Gaping Maw shifts and changes with Demogorgon's moods and whims. An island that existed in one location yesterday might be miles away tomorrow, or might have sunk beneath the waves entirely. Passages through the rocky formations open and close without warning. What appears to be solid ground one moment might dissolve into water the next. This constant state of flux makes navigation nearly impossible for any being other than Demogorgon himself and his most favored servants. It is a defensive mechanism, ensuring that no invading force can ever truly map or understand his domain. But the most striking feature of the Gaping Maw, the landmark that gives this layer its name, is the massive rift that splits the largest landmass. This is the Gaping Maw itself, a chasm so deep that no light penetrates to its bottom, so wide that you could lose entire cities within it. The edges of this rift are not stable. They crumble constantly, with massive chunks of rock breaking off and tumbling into the darkness below. Yet the rift never closes, never fills. It simply continues to exist, a wound in the very substance of the layer that will never heal. From the depths of the Gaping Maw comes a sound that never ceases. It is a roaring, grinding noise that seems to emanate from the very core of the layer. Some who have heard it and survived claim it sounds like breathing, like some impossibly vast entity drawing air into lungs the size of mountains. Others say it is more like laughter, a cruel, mocking sound that speaks of madness and malevolence. Still others hear in it the screams of countless victims, echoing up from whatever terrible fate awaits them at the bottom of that bottomless pit. The truth is that the sound is all of these things and none of them. It is the voice of the layer itself, speaking in a language that predates mortal comprehension. Demogorgon's fortress, such as it is, rises from one of the larger islands near the center of his domain. It is not a traditional castle or palace. Demogorgon has no need for the trappings of mortal royalty. Instead, his seat of power is more organic, a massive structure that seems to have grown rather than been built. It resembles a colossal shell, similar to what you might find housing a nautilus, but scaled up to impossible proportions. The walls are formed from a substance that is neither stone nor flesh, but something in between, slick and iridescent, pulsing with a faint light that shifts through colors no mortal artist has ever captured. Inside this structure, the architecture defies all logic and reason. Corridors twist back on themselves in ways that violate the laws of geometry. Rooms exist in spaces that should be too small to contain them. Gravity functions differently in different chambers, sometimes pulling you toward the floor, sometimes toward the walls or ceiling, sometimes releasing you to float helplessly. Water flows through many of the passages, sometimes defying gravity to run along walls or across ceilings. The entire structure feels alive, as if it is not merely a building, but an extension of Demogorgon himself. The throne room, if it can be called that, sits at the heart of this impossible structure. It is a vast chamber, large enough to hold armies, with walls that seem to extend into infinity. The ceiling is lost in darkness, though occasionally you might glimpse something massive moving up there. Some servant or pet of the Prince of Demons going about its unfathomable business. The floor is covered in water to a depth of several feet, and in this water swim smaller versions of the demonic creatures that populate the seas outside. They are not pets, not decoration. They are guards, always watching, always ready to attack any who displease their master. At the center of this chamber rises Demogorgon's throne, and it is a sight that burns itself into the memory of any who see it, formed from the bones of defeated enemies, from the petrified corpses of failed servants, from materials gathered across the abyss and the plains beyond. It is a monument to his power and cruelty. The throne is massive, sized to accommodate his 18-foot frame, and it radiates a palpable aura of malevolence. When Demogorgon sits upon it, the very air in the chamber seems to thicken, pressing down upon any other beings present with almost physical force. But Demogorgon does not spend all his time in his throne room. He moves through his realm constantly, swimming through the poisoned seas with the same ease that you might walk through air, striding across the twisted islands, diving into the depths of the Gaping Maw itself. He is as much a part of this layer as the water and rock, and it responds to his presence. When he is pleased, the seas calm slightly, the shifting of the geography slows. When he is angry, storms of impossible ferocity tear across the waters, and the very islands shudder and crack. The denizens of this realm exist in a constant state of terror and reverence. Lesser demons scurry about their tasks, knowing that failure means death or worse. Manes, the lowest form of demon, exist in vast numbers, performing menial labor and serving as cannon fodder in conflicts with other demon princes. Dretches, slightly more intelligent, but no less pathetic, cluster in groups, fighting amongst themselves when no other enemies present themselves. Hezris, massive toad-like demons, serve as shock troops and enforcers, their strength and resilience making them valuable servants. But the true power in the Gaping Maw, aside from Demogorgon himself, lies with the more powerful demons who have pledged their loyalty to the Prince of Demons. Mariliths, six-armed serpentine demons of terrible cunning and martial skill, serve as generals in his armies. Balors, demons of flame and shadow whose very presence can ignite the air, act as his lieutenants and champions. Nalfishni, bloated demons of tremendous intelligence and magical power, serve as his advisors and scholars, though even they must be careful not to displease their master. Among these powerful servants, there are individuals who have earned special favor from Demogorgon. These are demons who have proven themselves through centuries or even millennia of service, who have demonstrated loyalty beyond the norm for their kind, who have succeeded in tasks that others failed. These favored servants receive gifts from their master, enhancements to their already considerable power, and the privilege of approaching closer to his presence without fear of immediate destruction. Yet even these privileged few know that Demogorgon's favor is fickle, and that a single failure could see them cast down into the depths of the Gaping Maw. The lair is also home to countless other creatures that are not demons in the traditional sense, aberrations drawn by the madness that permeates everything, make their homes in the deeper waters and the more remote islands. Mind flayers have established small colonies in hidden caves, though even they approach Demogorgon with caution. Beholders float through certain sections of the realm, their alien minds finding some kinship with the chaos and madness of the Gaping Maw. Demogorgon tolerates these beings as long as they do not interfere with his plans, and occasionally he makes use of them, though he trusts them no more than he trusts anyone else. The water itself serves multiple purposes in Demogorgon's realm. It is a defensive barrier, making approach by non-aquatic creatures difficult. It is a symbol of his power over the primordial forces of nature. It is a source of torture for those he wishes to punish, as he can control its properties, making it burn or freeze or dissolve flesh at his whim. It is also a medium through which he can observe his entire domain, for the waters of the Gaping Maw are connected, and what happens in one part can be perceived in another if you possess the power and knowledge to do so. Throughout the Gaping Maw, you will find evidence of Demogorgon's conflicts with other demon princes. Ruined fortifications from failed invasions dot certain islands. Vast battlefields where the bones of millions of demons lie scattered across the seafloor mark the sites of ancient wars. Occasionally, you might even encounter survivors from these conflicts, demons who were strong enough to survive, but too weak to escape, now living as permanent residents of the Gaping Maw, serving Demogorgon out of necessity rather than loyalty. The sky above the Gaping Maw, if it can be called a sky, is a perpetual twilight. No sun rises or sets here. Instead, there is a constant dim illumination that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. This light is just enough to see by, but never enough to feel truly safe. Colors appear muted and strange under this light, adding to the sense of wrongness that pervades everything. Occasionally, rifts open in this sky, revealing glimpses of other layers of the abyss, or even other planes entirely, before closing again. These rifts are unpredictable and dangerous, sometimes allowing things to fall through from elsewhere, sometimes creating passages that Demogorgon can use to extend his reach beyond his own lair. Time itself functions strangely in the Gaping Maw. Minutes can stretch into hours, or hours can pass in what feels like seconds. There is no day or night to mark the passage of time, no seasons to measure the years by. Those who spend extended periods in this realm often lose all sense of temporal progression, which only adds to the maddening nature of the place. Demogorgon himself seems unaffected by this temporal distortion. Or perhaps he is its cause, his dual nature creating conflicting flows of time that average out into this strange, fluid experience. This, then, is the Gaping Maw, the realm that Demogorgon has claimed and shaped over countless eons. It is a reflection of his nature, chaotic and terrifying, beautiful in its way, yet utterly hostile to all life. It is a place where the very environment seeks to destroy you, where the water you need to survive might kill you, where the ground beneath your feet might vanish at any moment. It is a testament to Demogorgon's power that he can maintain control over such a realm, that he can impose enough order on this chaos to make it function as his base of power. And it is a warning to any who might think to challenge him. For if this is what he has done to an entire layer of the abyss, imagine what he might do to the material plane itself if given the chance. Section 3. Two minds, one body. Aameul and Hethradiah. Now that you have seen the realm that Demogorgon commands, you must confront perhaps the most disturbing aspect of his existence, the dual consciousness that inhabits his form. This is not simply a matter of having two heads instead of one. This is something far more profound and terrifying. Demogorgon is, in essence, two completely separate beings forced to share a single body, two distinct personalities with their own thoughts, desires, and methods, locked together in an eternal struggle for dominance. To truly understand the Prince of Demons, you must understand both Aameul and Hethradiah, the two minds that make him what he is. The left head, Aameul, represents the calculating, contemplative aspect of Demogorgon's nature. When you look into the eyes of this head, you see an intelligence that is ancient and patient, a mind that thinks in terms of centuries and millennia rather than moments. Aameul is the strategist, the planner, the one who considers every angle and possibility before committing to action. This head speaks less frequently than its counterpart, but when it does speak, the words carry weight and meaning that can take days or weeks to fully understand. Aameul's voice is deeper, more measured, each syllable carefully chosen for maximum effect. Aameul approaches problems with the mindset of a scholar studying a fascinating puzzle. This head takes pleasure in complexity, in schemes that unfold over vast periods of time, in plans that have layers within layers of meaning and purpose. When Aameul gazes upon an enemy, it does not see merely a target to be destroyed. It sees possibilities, weaknesses to exploit, connections to sever, resources to corrupt, and turn to its own purposes. This is the head that understands the value of patience, that knows sometimes the greatest victories come not from immediate violence, but from subtle manipulation that bears fruit generations later. The followers and servants of Demogorgon, who deal primarily with Aameul, learn to measure their words carefully. This head has no patience for fools, but it respects cleverness and cunning. It might spare a lesser demon who has failed in its mission, if that demon can demonstrate that the failure taught it something valuable, that lessons were learned which will make future success more likely. Aameul understands that power is not merely about brute force, but about knowledge, about understanding the weaknesses in your enemy's defenses, about knowing when to strike and when to wait. Yet you must never mistake Aameul's contemplative nature for weakness or mercy. This head is capable of terrible cruelty, but its cruelty is calculated, purposeful, where Hethradiah might destroy an enemy in a fit of rage. Aameul will carefully orchestrate that enemy's downfall, ensuring maximum suffering, maximum humiliation, turning them against their allies, corrupting everything they hold dear before finally allowing them the release of death. And even then, death might not be the end. For Aameul understands the value of using a fallen enemy's essence to create new servants, new tools in the eternal war against order and light. The magic that flows from Aameul tends toward the subtle and insidious. This head commands spells of illusion and enchantment, of mental domination and madness. When Aameul casts magic, it rarely manifests in obvious displays of power. Instead, reality quietly warps and shifts. Minds are influenced in ways the victims do not immediately recognize, and seeds of corruption are planted that will grow over time. This head understands that the most effective magic is often the kind that your enemy does not realize has been used against them, until it is far too late to resist. Now turn your attention to the right head, Hethradiah, and you will see something completely different. Where Aameul is patient and calculating, Hethradiah is impulsive and violent. This head embodies pure, primal rage, the kind of fury that knows no bounds and recognizes no limits. Hethradiah's eyes burn with an inner fire, constantly scanning for threats, for enemies, for anything that might challenge Demogorgon's dominance. This is the head of action, of immediate response, of overwhelming force applied without hesitation or mercy. Hethradiah speaks more frequently than Aameul, and its voice is harsher, more aggressive. Where Aameul might engage in careful negotiation, Hethradiah demands immediate obedience. This head has no interest in complex schemes or long-term planning. It wants results now, wants to see enemies crushed beneath Demogorgon's feet, wants to hear the screams of those who dare oppose the Prince of Demons. When Hethradiah looks upon an enemy, it does not see a puzzle to solve. It sees a target to destroy, an obstacle to remove, a source of potential entertainment through violence. The servants who deal primarily with Hethradiah learn very different lessons than those who interact with Aameul. This head respects strength and directness. A demon who has failed but fought bravely and ferociously might earn a second chance from Hethradiah, while one who hesitated or showed cowardice will be destroyed without a second thought. This head values action over thought, results over process, immediate success over careful planning. It is Hethradiah who leads Demogorgon into physical combat, who controls the devastating attacks of his tentacles, who unleashes the raw magical power that can obliterate entire armies. Yet you must also not make the mistake of thinking Hethradiah is merely a mindless brute. This head possesses its own form of intelligence, a combat instinct honed over eons of warfare. In battle, Hethradiah can assess threats and opportunities with lightning speed, making tactical decisions in fractions of a second that would take mortal generals hours of planning. This head understands the ebb and flow of combat, knows when to press an advantage and when to pull back, can exploit openings in an enemy's defense with devastating efficiency. The magic that flows from Hethradiah is the opposite of Aameul's subtle approach. This head commands destructive forces, spells of pure elemental fury that reshape landscapes and reduce fortresses to rubble. When Hethradiah casts magic, there is no subtlety, no hidden purpose. Fire erupts, lightning strikes, reality tears open to unleash raw chaos. This is magic as a weapon of war, designed to kill, to destroy, to demonstrate power in the most obvious and terrifying ways possible. Enemies who face this head's magical fury rarely have time to regret their choices before they are annihilated. The relationship between these two heads is complex and ever-changing. At times, they work in perfect harmony, with Aameul's planning complementing Hethradiah's execution. In these moments, Demogorgon is at his most dangerous, combining overwhelming power with strategic brilliance. Enemies who face the Prince of Demons when his two heads are in accord rarely survive the experience. The careful planning of Aameul ensures that every advantage is exploited, while the savage fury of Hethradiah ensures that those plans are executed with maximum violence and effect. But more often, the two heads are in conflict. Aameul wishes to wait, to observe, to allow a plan more time to develop. Hethradiah demands immediate action, immediate violence. This internal struggle can manifest in disturbing ways. You might see Demogorgon's body tense as the two heads argue with each other in languages that predate mortal speech. One tentacle might lash out while the other remains still, each controlled by a different head. In extreme cases, the two heads have been known to actually attack each other, though the shared body means such conflict can never truly resolve. This constant internal conflict creates a profound unpredictability in Demogorgon's behavior. Enemies who think they understand his patterns, who believe they can predict his next move, often discover too late that the head they were dealing with has lost the internal argument, and now they face a completely different approach. A negotiation that seemed to be proceeding well under Aameul's patient attention might suddenly collapse into violence when Hethradiah grows tired of talking. A savage assault that appeared certain to destroy an enemy might pause unexpectedly as Aameul decides there is more to be gained from allowing them to survive and suffer. For the servants and followers of Demogorgon, this duality creates a constant source of anxiety. Which head will they be dealing with when they approach their master? Will Aameul appreciate the care they took in executing their mission? Or will Hethradiah view such caution as cowardice? Will Hethradiah praise their swift and violent victory? Or will Aameul see it as a waste of resources that could have been better deployed? There is no way to know, no way to prepare. For even Demogorgon himself cannot always predict which aspect of his nature will be dominant at any given moment. This unpredictability extends to his conflicts with other demon princes. Orcus, the demon prince of undeath, and Grast, the demon prince of decadence, are among Demogorgon's greatest rivals in the abyss. Both have learned to their cost that dealing with the prince of demons requires adaptation to his dual nature. A plan that might work against Aameul's calculated approach will fail catastrophically when Hethradiah takes control and responds with immediate violence. Conversely, preparations for violent confrontation become useless when Aameul decides that subtler methods serve better. The psychological terror that Demogorgon inflicts upon his enemies stems partly from this duality. When you face him, you are not facing one opponent, but two, and you never know which one you will be dealing with from moment to moment. Your careful plans must account for both patient cunning and explosive violence. Often simultaneously, you must be prepared for an enemy who might negotiate one moment and attack the next, who might show mercy as part of a long-term plan or demonstrate cruelty simply because Hethradiah feels like expressing its rage. For mortal minds, attempting to comprehend the nature of Demogorgon's divided consciousness often leads to madness. The concept of two equal and opposite intelligences sharing one body, constantly fighting yet unable to separate, creates a logical paradox that mortal philosophy and psychology cannot easily resolve. Scholars who have studied Demogorgon too closely have been driven insane by trying to understand how such an existence is possible. How one being can simultaneously want opposite things with equal intensity. The madness that Demogorgon spreads is not entirely intentional. Yes, he deliberately drives his enemies insane through magic and psychological warfare. But part of the madness that surrounds him simply radiates from his very nature. The impossibility of his existence, the paradox of his dual consciousness, seems to leak into reality around him, infecting the minds of those who get too close. Even other demons, creatures already steeped in chaos and evil, can be affected by prolonged exposure to Demogorgon's presence, developing twitches, paranoia, and obsessive behaviors as their minds try and fail to process what he is. The tentacles that serve as Demogorgon's arms are each controlled by one of his heads. The left tentacle answers to Aameul, moving with calculated precision, striking only when the timing is perfect. The right tentacle is Hethradiah's instrument, lashing out with savage fury, attacking rapidly and relentlessly. Watch Demogorgon fight, and you can see this difference clearly. One tentacle moves like a surgeon's tool, targeting weak points with exactness. The other swings like a massive whip, crushing and tearing everything it touches through sheer destructive power. Yet despite their differences, despite the constant conflict between them, Aameul and Hethradiah are both Demogorgon. They are not separate entities that might someday be split apart. They are two aspects of a single being, two halves that together form something greater than either could be alone. When they achieve even brief moments of harmony, the result is of intelligence of such terrifying brilliance that even the gods must take notice. When they are in conflict, the chaos that results is itself a weapon that few can withstand. Understanding this duality is essential to understanding why Demogorgon has maintained his position as Prince of Demons for so long. His twofold nature makes him adaptable in ways that other demon princes are not. He can be whatever the situation requires, whether that is a patient schemer or a savage destroyer. His enemies can never fully prepare for him because they can never be certain which aspect they will face. His allies, such as they are, can never fully predict him, which keeps them off balance and prevents them from plotting effectively against him. This is the truth at the heart of Demogorgon's existence. He is not one being, but two, not unified but fractured, not consistent but chaotic. And it is precisely this division, this internal conflict that never ends and can never be resolved, that makes him one of the most dangerous beings in all of creation. Aameul and Hethradiah, contemplation and rage, patience and violence, cunning and fury, forever bound together in a single body, forever fighting for dominance, forever making Demogorgon what he is, the Prince of Demons, the embodiment of chaos, and the harbinger of madness. Section 4. Dominion and Worship. The cult of Demogorgon, the duality you have just witnessed in Demogorgon's nature, extends outward from his physical form, influencing everything he touches, including those who worship him, across the material plane and beyond. In hidden temples and secret sanctuaries, there are those who have pledged their souls to the Prince of Demons. These cultists are not merely devil worshippers seeking power or wealth. They are individuals who have gazed into the abyss of madness and found something there that called to them, something that promised liberation from the constraints of sanity and order. The cult of Demogorgon exists in fragments, scattered cells that rarely communicate with one another, operating in isolation across countless worlds. This fragmentation is not a weakness, but a reflection of their master's chaotic nature. There is no central hierarchy, no grand temple that coordinates activities across the planes. Instead, each cult cell operates independently, receiving guidance through visions, dreams, and occasional visitations from demonic servants. This structure makes the cult nearly impossible to eradicate, for destroying one cell does nothing to weaken the others, and new cells form spontaneously whenever someone opens their mind to Demogorgon's influence. You might wonder what drives someone to worship such a being. The answer varies, but certain patterns emerge. Some cultists are scholars who delved too deeply into forbidden knowledge, who read texts they should have left unopened, who pursued understanding of the abyss until that understanding consumed them. Others are individuals broken by tragedy or trauma, whose minds fractured under pressure and found in Demogorgon's madness a strange comfort, a validation that the universe is indeed as chaotic and cruel as their experiences suggested. Still others are simply power-hungry, willing to pledge themselves to any force that might grant them abilities beyond mortal limits. The rituals performed by Demogorgon's cultists are as varied as the cultists themselves, but certain elements appear consistently. Water plays a central role in nearly all ceremonies, reflecting their master's dominion over the poisoned seas of the Gaping Maw. Cultists might gather at ocean shores during storms, or near rivers during floods, or in underground caverns where water drips eternally from unseen sources. They immerse themselves in these waters, seeking connection with their distant master, hoping that through this medium they might touch his consciousness and receive his blessings. Sacrifices are, of course, a crucial component of demonic worship, and Demogorgon's followers are no exception. But the sacrifices demanded by the Prince of Demons go beyond simple bloodshed. Yes, living victims are offered, their lives snuffed out in his name. But what Demogorgon truly desires is the sacrifice of sanity itself. Cultists intentionally drive themselves toward madness through various means. Prolonged meditation on impossible geometries, consumption of substances that warp perception, exposure to sounds and images that break down mental barriers, and rituals designed to fragment consciousness. They believe that by surrendering their sanity, they become closer to their master's dual nature. That madness is not a curse, but a gift that allows them to perceive truths hidden from the sane. The symbols used by Demogorgon's cult are distinctive and disturbing. The most common is a representation of his two heads, often simplified into two serpentine shapes intertwined or facing opposite directions. Some variations show two tentacles forming a similar pattern. These symbols appear in places where cultists gather, carved into walls, painted in substances better left unidentified, or formed from bones and other remains. The presence of these symbols can corrupt the area around them, creating subtle effects that lead to increased violence, paranoia, and mental instability in those who live nearby. Cultists of Demogorgon do not wear uniforms or openly identify themselves in most societies. They hide among normal people, appearing as merchants, laborers, even nobles or clergy of legitimate faiths. But they have ways of recognizing each other. Secret handshakes, specific phrases that seem innocuous but carry hidden meaning, and subtle alterations to their appearance that only another cultist would notice. This secrecy is essential for their survival, as worship of demon princes is forbidden and punishable by death in most civilized lands. Yet the cult does recruit, constantly seeking new members to replace those lost to madness, execution, or the dangerous rituals they perform. Recruitment often begins subtly. A cultist might befriend someone, slowly introducing them to ideas that challenge conventional thinking, slowly eroding their faith in order and reason. Books might be recommended, places suggested for visits, experiences offered that seem harmless at first, but plant seeds of corruption. By the time the target realizes they are being inducted into a demon cult, they are often already too far gone to resist, their mind already partially fractured and receptive to Demogorgon's influence. The position Demogorgon holds in the abyssal hierarchy is one he has fought to maintain for eons. The title Prince of Demons is not merely honorary. It represents real authority, real power, and real dominance over countless other demons. But this position is constantly challenged. For in the abyss, power is the only thing that matters, and any demon prince who shows weakness will quickly find others attempting to seize their position. Among the demon princes, none have challenged Demogorgon more consistently than Orcus, the demon prince of undeath. Where Demogorgon represents madness and chaos, Orcus embodies death and necromancy. His armies of undead have clashed with Demogorgon's living hordes countless times across the Blood War and in conflicts throughout the abyss. The two demon princes hate each other with an intensity that transcends normal rivalry. Orcus sees Demogorgon's claim to be Prince of Demons as an affront, believing his own mastery over death makes him superior. Demogorgon views Orcus as a pretender, a being who commands only corpses rather than true living demons. Their conflicts have shaped entire layers of the abyss. Battlefields exist where the armies of these two princes met and fought to mutual destruction, leaving wastelands where neither life nor undeath can properly exist. Demogorgon has scored victories, driving Orcus from positions of power, destroying his artifacts, and banishing him temporarily from the abyss entirely. But Orcus always returns, always rebuilds, always seeks new ways to strike at the Prince of Demons. This eternal struggle between them is one of the defining conflicts of the abyss, and it shows no signs of ending as long as both princes exist. Grazed, the demon prince of decadence and manipulation, represents a different kind of threat to Demogorgon, where Orcus challenges through direct military force. Grazed employs subterfuge, seduction, and political maneuvering. Grazed is perhaps the most outwardly civilized of the demon princes, capable of presenting himself as charming and sophisticated. He builds alliances, makes deals, and works through proxies in ways that Demogorgon's more chaotic nature finds difficult to counter effectively. The rivalry between Demogorgon and Grazed is more subtle than his conflict with Orcus, but no less intense. Grazed has attempted multiple times to undermine Demogorgon's position, spreading rumors, turning potential allies against him. and exploiting the divisions caused by Demogorgon's dual nature. When Aameul and Hethradiah are in conflict, Grast often makes his moves, knowing that the Prince of Demons is less effective when his two heads are working at cross purposes. Yet Demogorgon has proven resilient against these schemes, his raw power compensating for any political disadvantages. Beyond these two primary rivals, Demogorgon faces challenges from other demon princes as well. Baphomet, Prince of Beasts and Labyrinths, has clashed with him over territory and influence. Juiblix, the Faceless Lord, has oozed into conflict with Demogorgon's aquatic domains. Yinaghu, Demon Prince of Knolls, has led his savage hordes against the Gaping Maw on multiple occasions. Each of these conflicts adds to the legend of Demogorgon, for despite facing so many enemies, despite the constant challenges to his position, he has maintained his claim as Prince of Demons. The servants who champion Demogorgon's cause go beyond the demons of his realm. Throughout the plains, there are individuals and creatures who have pledged themselves to his service in exchange for power. Some are warlocks who have made pacts with him, receiving a fraction of his magical might in return for serving his interests in the material plane. These warlocks often do not realize the full extent of what they have agreed to, believing they can control the power they have been granted, only to discover too late that every use of that power pulls them deeper into madness and corruption. Others serve Demogorgon through possession or transformation. Particularly devoted cultists might undergo rituals that transform them into monstrous forms more capable of serving their master. These transformations are never pleasant and often fatal, but those who survive emerge as beings of terrible power, their bodies warped into shapes more suitable for enacting Demogorgon's will. Some develop tentacles of their own, pale imitations of their master's limbs, but still deadly. Others find their minds splitting, developing secondary personalities that war with their original consciousness, echoing on a smaller scale the duality of Demogorgon himself. Demogorgon's influence extends into the very fabric of the plains through what scholars call abyssal incursions. These are places where the barrier between the material plane and the abyss has grown thin, where Demogorgon's essence can seep through and corrupt the surrounding area. Such places become hotbeds of madness and chaos. Plants grow in twisted, unnatural ways. Animals become aggressive and unpredictable. People who live in these areas report strange dreams, hearing voices, seeing things that should not exist. Over time, if the incursion is not contained, it can transform the entire region into a reflection of the Gaping Maw itself, complete with corrupted waters and reality-warping effects. The priests who serve Demogorgon, those rare individuals who receive divine magic directly from him, rather than through warlock pacts, are perhaps the most terrifying of his mortal servants. These individuals have survived complete mental dissolution and emerged on the other side with their sanity shattered, but their will intact. They speak with two voices, reflecting their master's dual nature. They can channel Demogorgon's power to drive others mad with a word, to corrupt water into poison with a gesture, to summon lesser demons with prayers. They are utterly devoted to spreading chaos and madness, and they pursue this goal with the fanaticism of true believers. The artifacts associated with Demogorgon are few but terrible. The most infamous is the tentacle rod, a weapon said to be formed from one of Demogorgon's own cast-off tentacles, preserved through dark magic and granted a fraction of his power. Any who wield this artifact gain tremendous strength, but also risk corruption, as the essence of Demogorgon within the rod seeks to dominate the wielder's mind. Other artifacts include ritual texts written in languages that cause madness in those who read them, talismans that provide protection from Demogorgon's enemies, but slowly drive the wearer insane, and mirrors that show reflections not of the viewer, but of Demogorgon's realm. Throughout history, there have been attempts to use Demogorgon's power for supposedly good purposes. Desperate rulers have tried to bargain with him to defeat even worse threats. Heroes have sought to turn his chaos against enemies of order. Wizards have attempted to bind his power for their own use. These attempts universally end in disaster. Demogorgon cannot be controlled or directed. Any who try find themselves outmaneuvered, corrupted, or destroyed. His madness spreads like a plague, infecting everyone who comes into contact with it, turning would-be masters into servants and servants into victims. The blood war, the eternal conflict between demons and devils, sees Demogorgon as one of its primary players. His armies regularly clash with the forces of the nine hells, and he has personally fought against archdevils on multiple occasions. The devils represent everything Demogorgon opposes: order, hierarchy, predictability. While devils plan meticulously and follow strategies developed over centuries, Demogorgon's forces embrace chaos, attacking unpredictably, changing tactics moment by moment. This makes them difficult opponents for the devils, whose rigid strategies sometimes cannot adapt quickly enough to counter such unpredictable threats. Yet, for all his power, for all his influence, Demogorgon's ultimate goals remain somewhat mysterious. Unlike Orcus, who clearly seeks to transform all life into undeath, or Grast, who desires to rule through seduction and manipulation, Demogorgon's endgame is less clear. Does he simply want to spread madness for its own sake? Does he seek to remake all of reality in his image? A universe where everything reflects his dual, chaotic nature? Or is there some deeper purpose, some goal that even his most devoted followers cannot comprehend? The truth is that perhaps even Demogorgon himself does not fully know. For how can a being with two conflicting minds have a single, unified goal? What is certain is that his influence continues to grow. New cults form regularly. His reach extends into new planes and new worlds. His power, tested by countless challenges, proves itself again and again. The Prince of Demons remains ascendant, and those who worship him believe that one day his madness will consume everything, leaving behind a universe as chaotic and divided as Demogorgon himself. Whether this will come to pass remains to be seen, but the cults work toward this goal with tireless devotion, each ritual bringing their vision of a mad universe one small step closer to reality. Section 5. Legacy of Madness. Demogorgon Through the Ages. The story of Demogorgon is not confined to the abyss alone. Throughout the long history of the material plane, his shadow has fallen across countless worlds, countless civilizations, countless individual lives. To understand the full scope of his influence, you must trace the path of destruction and madness he has left in his wake. From the earliest recorded encounters with his power to the present day, this is a legacy written in blood and insanity. A chronicle of how one being has shaped the fate of entire worlds through his relentless pursuit of chaos. In the earliest ages of recorded history, when the first mortal civilizations were just beginning to build their cities and codify their laws, Demogorgon's influence was already at work. Ancient texts from long-fallen empires make reference to the two-headed demon, or the Prince of the Depths. Though many of these references are fragmentary, the texts themselves damaged by age or deliberately destroyed by those who feared the knowledge they contained. These early encounters seem to have been limited, brief incursions where Demogorgon's servants crossed into the material plane, or where foolish mortals accidentally opened portals to the Gaping Maw. One of the most detailed ancient accounts comes from the Empire of Zarum, a civilization that flourished approximately 7,000 years ago in a region that is now barren wasteland. According to fragments of their historical records, preserved in the libraries of those who study such dark matters, Zarum was a maritime empire. Its power based on control of sea routes and fishing grounds. A cult of Demogorgon arose among the fisher folk, beginning innocently enough with rituals meant to ensure safe voyages and good catches. But as these rituals became more elaborate, as the cultists delved deeper into the forbidden knowledge of their patron, the nature of their worship changed. The corruption spread from the coastal villages into the heart of the empire. Nobles became cultists. Priests abandoned their traditional gods to worship the Prince of Demons. Within a generation, Zarum had transformed from a prosperous, orderly society into a chaotic nightmare. Civil wars erupted as different factions, each claiming to represent the true will of Demogorgon, fought for control. The seas around Zarum became dangerous, filled with corrupted creatures that attacked any ships that ventured into those waters. Eventually, neighboring nations united to destroy Zarum before its madness could spread further. The empire was burned, its cities razed, its people scattered or killed. Even now, thousands of years later, that region remains cursed, its waters still tainted by the corruption Demogorgon's cult brought into the world. This pattern has repeated itself throughout history, though rarely on such a dramatic scale. smaller kingdoms and city-states have fallen to Demogorgon's influence, their collapses sometimes attributed to mundane causes like plague or civil unrest, when in truth, the hand of the Prince of Demons guided their destruction. Historians who study these collapses sometimes notice common elements. Increased reports of madness in the years leading up to the fall, unusual violence, leaders making increasingly erratic decisions, and always, somewhere in the background, the presence of water-based rituals or coastal cult activity. In more recent centuries, as civilizations have grown more sophisticated and record-keeping more reliable, the accounts of Demogorgon's influence become clearer and more detailed. The city of Westgate, in the Forgotten Realms, experienced a significant Demogorgon cult presence approximately 400 years ago. The cult operated from beneath the city, in tunnels and caverns that connected to the sea. They kidnapped citizens for their rituals, corrupted members of the city guard, and came dangerously close to summoning a major servant of Demogorgon into the heart of the city before heroes intervened and destroyed the cult's leadership. The intervention of heroes is a recurring theme in the stories of Demogorgon's influence. Throughout the ages, brave or foolish individuals have stood against his cults, disrupted his plans, and fought his servants. Some succeeded, driving back the forces of chaos and madness, at least temporarily. Others failed, their stories ending in death or worse. For every cult that has been destroyed, another has formed elsewhere, and the heroes who fight against Demogorgon often find that victory is temporary at best. The corruption runs deep, and roots that seem to have been pulled out completely have a way of growing back when no one is watching. One of the most famous encounters with Demogorgon himself, not merely his servants, occurred during what scholars now call the abyssal incursion of the year 972 Dale Reckoning. A powerful cabal of wizards, seeking to expand their knowledge of planar magic, deliberately opened a portal to the abyss. They believed they had taken sufficient precautions, established enough wards and protections to control whatever came through. They were wrong. Demogorgon himself manifested partially through the portal, just his heads and tentacles, but that was more than enough. In the moments before the wizards managed to close the portal at the cost of their own lives, Demogorgon killed 3 of them and drove 2 others permanently insane. The area where this occurred remained corrupted for decades afterward, reality itself warped by the brief presence of such concentrated evil and chaos. The lessons from that incident were supposedly learned, but they rarely are. Every few generations, someone decides they can control or manipulate Demogorgon's power. And every time, they discover too late that such control is impossible. The Prince of Demons cannot be bound by mortal magic, cannot be contained by wards and circles, cannot be bargained with in any way that does not ultimately serve his purposes. Those who try become cautionary tales, their fates recorded as warnings that go largely unheeded by the next generation of arrogant spellcasters. In the game world of Greyhawk, Demogorgon has played a significant role in several major events. The Temple of Elemental Evil, while primarily associated with other demon princes, had connections to Demogorgon through some of its cultists. The ruins beneath the temple included shrines to multiple demon princes, and Demogorgon's was among the most elaborate, suggesting a strong cult presence in the region. Adventurers who explored these ruins reported encountering servants of Demogorgon, including demons directly from the Gaping Maw, as well as cultists who had transformed themselves into monstrous forms through their devotion. The Savage Tide Adventure Path, a campaign that spanned from the mundane concerns of urban intrigue to the cosmic threat of demonic invasion, featured Demogorgon as its ultimate antagonist. In this storyline, the Prince of Demons sought to extend his influence into the material plane on an unprecedented scale. He corrupted the waters of entire oceans, transforming normal sea creatures into savage, demonic versions of themselves. Islands across a vast archipelago fell under his sway, their inhabitants either killed, transformed, or driven mad. The campaign culminated in heroes having to travel to the Gaping Maw itself to confront Demogorgon in his own realm. One of the few times in recorded history where such a direct confrontation has been documented. The accounts of those who survived that journey into the Gaping Maw, few though they are, provide some of the most detailed information available about Demogorgon's realm and his true nature. These heroes described the constant sense of wrongness, the way reality seemed to bend and twist around them, the difficulty of maintaining their sanity in the face of such concentrated chaos. They spoke of witnessing Demogorgon's two heads arguing with each other, the conflict between Aameul and Hethradiah so intense that it created physical distortions in the surrounding environment. They described combat against the Prince of Demons as unlike any other battle, facing an opponent who might be coldly calculating one moment and savagely berserk the next, whose strategies shifted so rapidly that no defense could be fully prepared. Those heroes succeeded in disrupting Demogorgon's plans, though whether they truly defeated him or merely set back his schemes is a matter of debate. Demogorgon cannot be permanently killed while he remains in the abyss, and even if slain on another plane, he will eventually reform in his realm. The best that can be hoped for is temporary victory, buying time for the forces of order to prepare for his inevitable return. This immortality is something all demon princes possess, making them eternal threats that can be fought against, but never truly eliminated. In the world of Eberron, Demogorgon's presence is less direct, but no less insidious. The madness of the Daelker, those alien beings from the plane of Zoriat who invaded Eberron millennia ago, shares certain qualities with Demogorgon's influence. Some scholars believe there may be connections between the Prince of Demons and these reality-warping entities, though such theories remain unproven. What is certain is that cults dedicated to Demogorgon exist in Eberron's depths. hidden in the caverns beneath Khyber, where they perform their rituals far from the sight of surface dwellers. The influence of Demogorgon extends beyond direct worship and cult activity. His essence, his very nature, seems to have influenced the development of certain monsters and hazards throughout the multiverse. Creatures that embody dual natures, beings that shift between states, entities that spread madness, all bear some conceptual relationship to the Prince of Demons. Whether Demogorgon actually created these things, or whether they arose independently and simply reflect similar principles, is unknown. But the correlation cannot be denied. The Hydra, for instance, with its multiple heads that can fight independently, is sometimes theorized to be a lesser reflection of Demogorgon's form. While Hydras possess nowhere near his intelligence or power, their basic structure, multiple heads on a shared body, echoes his configuration. Some of the most dangerous Hydras are those found in regions where Demogorgon's influence is strong, suggesting that his presence might enhance or corrupt these already dangerous creatures. Aquatic demons known as Wastrolith serve as some of Demogorgon's most effective agents on the material plane. These beings can corrupt bodies of water, spreading poison and madness through the element they inhabit. They often work to establish cult cells, appearing to potential worshippers in visions and dreams, guiding them towards service of the Prince of Demons. Wastrolith are patient and subtle, capable of years or even decades of careful manipulation before revealing their true nature to their chosen cultists. The question of Demogorgon's ultimate goals has occupied scholars for generations. Unlike some demon princes whose aims are relatively straightforward, Demogorgon's dual nature makes his true objectives difficult to discern. Aameul seems to desire a universe where chaos and madness have become the norm, where reality itself has been restructured according to principles of constant change and instability. Hethradiah appears to simply want destruction, the tearing down of all order and structure through violence. Whether these goals are ultimately the same thing approached from different angles, or whether they represent genuinely conflicting visions, remains unclear. What is clear is that Demogorgon continues to work toward whatever his goals may be. His cults grow in secret. His influence spreads through dimensions and across planes. Every ritual performed in his name, every sacrifice offered to him, every mind that breaks under the weight of madness he inspires, brings him closer to whatever future he envisions. The forces of law and good struggle to contain his influence, but they are fighting a defensive battle against an enemy who has existed since before their gods were born, and who will likely exist long after those gods have faded. The future of Demogorgon's power is a subject of much speculation and fear. Some seers and prophets have spoken of a time when the barriers between planes will weaken significantly, when the abyss will pour into the material plane in unprecedented numbers. In these visions, Demogorgon often appears as a central figure, leading the demonic hordes spreading madness across entire continents, transforming vast regions of the world into extensions of the Gaping Maw. Whether these visions represent possible futures, inevitable fate, or simply the fears of those who have glimpsed them is impossible to know. What you can know, what you must understand, is that Demogorgon is not a solved problem or a defeated enemy. He exists now, in this moment, ruling his lair of the abyss, commanding his demons, inspiring his cults, and plotting the extension of his influence. Every ocean you cross might hide one of his servants. Every coastal village might harbor a secret cell of his worshippers. Every unexplained outbreak of madness might be traced, if investigated deeply enough, back to his influence. The heroes who have stood against Demogorgon throughout history deserve recognition for their bravery. They faced unimaginable terror and somehow maintained enough of their sanity to fight back. They disrupted cult rituals, knowing that failure meant not just death, but eternal torment or corruption. They traveled to the abyss itself, stepping into a realm of pure evil to confront the source of the threat, rather than merely treating its symptoms. These heroes are examples of what mortal courage can achieve, even against the darkest and most powerful forces in existence. Yet, even heroism has its limits. For every cult destroyed, another forms. For every plan disrupted, another unfolds. Demogorgon has time, has patience, has resources that dwarf those available to any mortal civilization. He can afford to lose battles because he is fighting a war that spans millennia. A setback that would cripple a mortal kingdom is barely a pause in his schemes. He reforms when killed, rebuilds when defeated, and returns from banishment. He is, in every meaningful sense, eternal. This is the legacy of Demogorgon. This is the mark he has left on reality. From the earliest civilizations to the present day, from the humblest fishing village to the mightiest empire, his influence has touched countless lives and shaped the course of history in ways both obvious and subtle. He is the monster that lurks in the deep waters of your world's oceans. He is the madness that suddenly strikes previously stable minds. He is the chaos that erupts without warning in orderly societies. He is the prince of demons, and his story is far from over. As you contemplate what you have learned about Demogorgon, as you consider the depth of his power and the breadth of his influence, remember that knowledge is both weapon and danger. Understanding what he is and what he seeks can help you recognize and resist his influence, can prepare you to stand against his cults and servants. But that same knowledge can also corrupt, can open your mind to the very madness you seek to fight against. Walk carefully the line between knowing enough to be prepared and knowing so much that you become vulnerable to what you study. The Prince of Demons remains ascendant, his two heads forever watching, forever scheming, forever fighting with each other and with all who oppose them. His tentacles reach across planes and through dimensions. His madness spreads like ripples across a vast ocean. And somewhere in the churning waters of the Gaping Maw, In the fortress that is neither fully solid nor fully alive, Demogorgon plots, plans, and waits for the moment when reality itself will bend to match his vision of chaos. If you found this deep dive into the lore of Demogorgon valuable, if these insights into the Prince of Demons have expanded your understanding of one of the multiverse's most dangerous beings, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps make more content like this possible. More explorations into the darkest corners of the lore. More journeys into the stories that make these worlds so rich and terrifying. Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Have you encountered Demogorgon in your campaigns? What aspects of his character and power do you find most compelling or terrifying? The conversation continues beyond this video, and your insights add to the collective understanding of these complex and fascinating subjects. Until next time, may your mind remain your own, and may you never hear the dual voices calling from the depths.